Good morning, everyone. As you're starting to come in to the webinar now, we're a little bit early. And we were really excited to have you here today. Thanks for taking the time to do this. Let's see, we have some more people that are just logging in now. I'm just going to give them a few minutes to kind of get through. Okay. Oh my goodness, we have some people joining us from Australia and New Zealand. So thank you for that. It's very late over there. Um, okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today. It is my pleasure to welcome Sammy Tam. He is our Chief Technology Officer and Senior Vice President. Today, we are going to be talking about autonomous data mobility. Sammy is actually going to give us a quick update on what he's been doing at Cirrus Data for the last little bit and kind of an overview on automated data mobility. And then he's going to take you through what I'm really excited to talk about today, which is our new AI solution, which we just introduced. So with that said, I am going to turn it over to Sammy. But before I do that, I want to remind you, we do love Q&A. So please, there's down at the bottom here, there is a Q&A button, but you can also just put it in the chat. And we'll get to it at the end. The more Q&A, the better. We'll do our best to take all the questions. If you put it in the chat, I'll try to answer them at the end. We'll ask Sammy and he'll answer them at the end. If you put them in the Q&A, we'll try to answer them as well. And then if we don't get to it on the webinar, we'll of course follow up with you. So with all of that said, let me turn it over now to Sammy. The floor is
Thank
yours.
you. Thank you. So let me put myself to the corner. We can get started. So thanks for joining me today. I'm Sammy, and as Jocelyn introduced, I'm CTO here at Cirrus Data, and I've been involved in all our product development. So today, I'm very happy to share with you our latest and greatest announcement, where we actually officially GA'd our Agentic AI integrations, where now we open the door for AI agents to use our product. So I would love to have the opportunity to share this with you. This is our agenda for today. We're going to start with doing a quick introduction on who Cirrus Data is and our products, our use case, a quick overview, and I'm going to go over our automation first design, right? How we have been approaching automation, and I'm going to talk about how the current state of agentic AI, right? Where how AI agents can do a lot of things that we that we have been doing manually, right? And then we're going to talk about how these two things, how our automation and how agentic AI can fit together. And after that, I'm going to walk through an example prompt, right? So how you can really truly perform migration using an example scenario, like migrating from VMware to cloud, fully autonomously, no clicking, no writing code, no running a script or anything, purely using AI agent. And then I'm going to take some snippets from our demonstration, our demo video, which is actually published in YouTube as we speak. So that would we can walk through some of the details, and then I'm going to take some questions. So who we are, Cirrus Data has been involved in data migration in this whole data mobility field for a long time. I mean, so we have been around since 2011. So our focus has always been providing migration software that's mostly around block storage and compute workload, which include physical workload and also virtual hypervisors, migrations, and cloud migration, and mix and match any of these, right? So we have a pretty large global footprint, right? Where we are basically in the enterprise data migration scenarios, we are used in many enterprises, and obviously enterprise have their own requirement, and that is why that's one of the major driving force to this presentation. So automation, orchestration is extremely important in enterprise, and that actually drives majority of our innovations and new product development over the years. So recently, I mean, if you already know who we are, thank yeah, thanks for joining. And if you don't know, thanks for joining too. So if you already know who we are, maybe especially if you're from the earlier days of Cirrus Data, our recent innovation or recent addition to our products, our solution has been mostly around adding integrations and into new platforms, new vendors, new storage, where we can make everything as seamless as possible, right? So that now you hear a lot of like one click this, one click that, and this is the latest development, right? Especially with the Broadcom update, right? So we have been adding a lot more VMware migration related scenario as well, right? So to different platform, cloud, private cloud, hypervisor, and mix and match. And we have presence in a lot of enterprise environments globally. Yeah, so after all these improvements in enhancement over the years, this is basically our current lineup of what we do. If you're familiar with our appliance-based solution, so you might know that we have that for our migrating like AIX environments and all these things. And then we also have a Cirrus Migrate Cloud, our host-based pure software solutions. And they all fall under this Cirrus Data Cloud as our data mobility as a service platform where we can as a single pane of glass management to all the products that we have, right? So all the familiar things that you know, our TDI, the transparent data intercept, our patent technology, right, IQOS, the intelligent quality of service, all these things fall under this picture. And for the people that join us that don't really know what we actually do, so our core technology is built on our patented TDI technology, transparent data intercept, right? So whether it's physical or software only, where we will actually sit in the data path and perform migration from source to destination. And because of our automation capabilities, right, we can enable virtually unlimited amount of migration scenarios, including like moving a VM from on-prem to cloud, back and forth, and to different hypervisors. So we can do all that, right? And because of our presence within the data path, we actually have interesting technology like IQOS, where instead of setting migration schedule 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock, migrate 100 megabyte per second, we actually have IQOS, where we intelligently real time do just enough migration to not impact your applications. So that is because of how our technology is positioned. We enable all these technologies over the years. So now, because of these use cases, we have actually migrated, like I previously said, migrated for over 14 years in various enterprise environments. We migrated over exabytes of data, right? And we have over 35 different integrations to different compute platforms. So most likely, whatever scenarios you will come across, it will be something for you that's relevant. Again, our goal is to we migrate as fast as possible without impacting your application. That has always been our goal, and we have plenty of innovation in that area to make sure that we can do the best job possible. So while we integrate with a lot of different environments, we are also integrated by a lot of enterprise environment because in, let's say, a bank or any of these larger organizations, people are unlikely just like clicking around. It has to be in a very structured environment. So people use us, integrate us into the internal systems. So we have also become a lot more developer friendly along the way. And yes, so in order to do things in this scale, what is the challenge, right? So the challenge that we have been dealing with is always scalability, right? So how can we, yes, doing one migration, oh, zero downtime, no click is really cool. But how does it apply to 1,000 VMs, 10,000 VMs, 100,000 VMs, right? How does it work? So the answer to all these questions in the enterprise environment with teams across different time zones is always automation, right? And that is how we tie to today's topic, which is AI, right? It's basically the next level of automation. But before we get there, right? So we have been tackling enterprise scalability by being automation first. Well, of course, over the years, people love our user interface, right? We have, in fact, that's one of the major reasons people adopt us early on. But as we continue to scale, it's very important to take automation as a first-class citizen in the technology sense, right? To make it safe and easier for all engineers. So make sure everything is predictable and mistakes won't happen. Right. So because of all these automations, we see people using our APIs, creating Ansible playbooks, creating custom scripts, create a lot of complex things. So a few years ago, we created MigrateOps, which is our platform. MigrateOps, DevOps, MigrateOps kind of concept, which is our first-party data mobility as code platform that's built right into it. Now you see how this is going because coding, we are getting into the world of coding agentic AI. So this data mobility as code platform allow us to completely change how users generally approach migration. Usually, when we think of data mobility, you think about runbooks, you think about procedures, approvals, asking that guy, that person for certain things, pulling in this person for the other part. With and then you might work with an engineer to build a software, build monitoring, build alerts. It will be using REST API, and hopefully the vendor provides good enough REST API documentations and things like that. You might have all dealt with this before. But with a truly intent-based data mobility, we introduce a concept called MigrateOps recipes, right? So yes, I have a very complex environment migrating to the cloud with some of the data from my database going to iSCSI storage. Good, we have a recipe for that. And you just have to tell us, hey, what do you want to do before migration? Run some action after migration. Which network do you want to migrate to? Right? And we'll do everything in one shot at the exact precise timing, right? We have this concept of migrate ops recipe. So while in our user interface, you'll be able to see all the possible combinations. And when you click into it, you will see a complete reference on how to build very minimal configuration. So instead of modules and modules of like Ansible playbook, you pretty much just give us a few lines to show us the account ID, which network you want to migrate to, and we'll orchestrate everything at the precise timing. So that's how we provide the first party support on automation. Yeah, so this is a comparison on from what we see in the field, how Migrate Ops has changed the landscape of migration, which again, when we come to AI, it will be AI using Migrate Ops instead, right? But this is an important first step because no matter how intelligent you see from the AI agents, this is the foundation that makes all this possible. Right. So with Migrate Ops, even developer writing code, it become like reading the documentation, understand the capability, and one step to start and one step to finish, right? Rather than before when we were manually creating scripts, manually creating programs, manually creating Ansible playbooks, our developers have to, okay, shut this down, bring that up, shut this down, bring that up, do a lot of these things. But now, because of a recipe, we encapsulate a lot of this logic already. And being a first-party automation, it's built right into the UI. You just drag and drop your configuration. And even one configuration, if you have 1,000 virtual machine you do migrate, it will just execute and do it at the precise timing. So no need to worry about when to cut over, when to power on, when to power off, or do I have to power off first or power on first? Can I execute something in the middle? We have hooks for everything. So it is basically a streamlined version of how you would build your automation in-house, right? This is great. So we have been creating for users, right? And then you heard about Migrate Ops. We created our retreat automation as, again, the first class user. And today, we are basically introducing the next level of automation, which is a native support, native communication with AI agents, right? Through our MCP server that's now generally available. So AI, when we talk about Cirrus Data and AI, obviously in the last 2 years, everybody's talking about AI and we get asked a lot, right? So yes, the first thing that we are relevant to AI is really we can migrate AI infrastructure. That's true. Like you have new hypervisor that has built-in AI support. And people might want to move it there, move back and forth. Maybe next year, a new version of the other hypervisor came out ahead, and you want to move back and forth. So this is one thing definitely that we help participate. But the bigger help that we can integrate with AI is really how to let AI be the migration engineer, be the migration operator, right? So in order to do that, in order to really let this vision come true, we basically partner with AI to enable data mobility. We let AI be our first-party user, right? But let's take a step back and take a look at what the current state of agentic AI. Yeah, when everything is AI came out like what 2022, right? When it become something that regular consumers can use, right? So we have gone from a ChatGPT window asking, hey, provide me the recipe for tonight's dinner. How do I make a hard-boiled egg to truly something useful, right? Something that can complete tasks on its own, right? So while even though an agentic AI may come in form of a chatbot style where you go back and forth, provide context, right? Or as a synchronous agent where you sit there and watch it work, or now a lot of background agents as well, where you take your instruction, take your complete project, all the information, and and then go ahead and do it while we're sleeping, right? So we use all these things a lot. And all these happen because of tools, right? The concept of tools in LLM in the large language model finally allow us to confidently interact with external components, right? Not just having wild guess the AI making script and then run it on its own, right? But using well-defined vendor provided the tools that speak the native language that provide AI instructions and when to use what tools, right? So, of course, MCP protocol, like the model context protocol, is the most popular widely adopted model at this protocol at this moment, right? So we will see calendar MCP server, email MCP server, like anything that you can think of, right? So your GitHub has your MCP server. Your If you are using Linear for your ticket management, your ServiceNow, and everything has an MCP server, meaning that the vendor itself can provide the specific instructions, specific directions, specific actions that an AI can do, right? So you can easily emulate this by actually going to ChatGPT and answer, hey, I want to do this, right? You have three options. Tell me which one you want to proceed. And then it will tell you option one, option two, option three. And then you execute it and come back and say, here's the result, right? So you can even do this. So now we have a lot of agentic AI program, especially coding agents, right? Like you heard about the OpenAI Codex, for example, like GitHub Copilot. There's a lot of different things that are very popular and widely used, right? So this is also how we have been adopting agentic AI, right, in our engineering, right, and our operations as well. So in delivering data migration, planning projects, right? From assigning engineers to work with our projects and our partner and users. And basically, with the help of agentic AI, now there are a lot more architects, a lot more instructors, a lot more designers out there, and a lot less operators, right? So previously, you might be checking off the runbook, right? But right, look at the screen, check the runbook. But now you're basically designing procedures for the AI agent, the AI engineer, to do their part for you, right? So we have seen a lot of this transformation, right? So we see a lot of debate on, hey, is agentic AI going to kill SaaS? But we don't know what the future is. But at least at this moment, the best use of generative AI is really to let generative AI generate instructions and let the AI agents themselves to actually execute those instructions to do what we normally do manually as using human power, right? Because of this, agentic AI thought. Back in 2023, when we created MigrateOps, which I previously introduced as a first-party automation platform, that was our day one vision, right? So we decided to make automation built right into our platform. It's because we want to achieve no what we call it no-click migration, right? Where AI agents would be the ultimate primary operators. Even at that time, it was at the GPT 3.5 time, right? Or even prior to that, where it's still very primitive. So obviously this would not just work. But because of that, we have been building towards that. And as you can see now, agentic AI is everywhere. Like it or not, there is from unicorn startups to enterprise scale to everything is have some agentic AI components to it. And one particular thing that obviously people put most investment in is coding agents, right? So you see like Anthropic's Claude Code, like OpenAI, Google, everybody has something that is used for writing code, right? And because of this direction, that is how we created data mobility as code. Because if coding agents are so popular and so powerful, and the world is pouring investment into it, we should place ourselves into a position where the coding agents can easily use data migration, perform data migration. So we created MigrateOps to fulfill this dream of data mobility as code. And when we created data mobility as code for ultimately for coding agents, right? But obviously before coding agents, then you just have human developers where all the things that we created, like one line installation, where we make sure that the deployment part is repeatable, right? So If you have 1,000 VM to migrate, you only have to do one thing, and the same thing over and over. It can be done in a script, any automation of your choice. No matter how complex the scenario is, the actual interaction with us is just one click. You drop the configuration in, and then we'll automate the entire workflow. In the enterprise integrations case, if you're using APIs, it's still just one single API. It's execute, right? And because of that, right, we make sure that our APIs are as developer friendly as possible, right? Like no more reading PDF files, it's all interactive documentation, right? And our migrate ops is all intent based, right? So no like procedural based where you provide, oh, I want to do this first, then do that, right? We take care of those things for you because we have the most experience doing that, right? And we can make sure that experiences that we learn from one project can apply to the other. So you just tell us where you want to go, and then Cirrus Data Cloud will take care of the rest. So that, and because of this foundation, it really allows us to put ourselves in this whole agentic AI model. Because instead of a human engineers doing it, imagine if it is an agentic AI, especially coding agents in the middle working in this picture here. You can see that agentic AI will be able to make use of, yeah, maybe through your Google Drive MCP server and your Excel spreadsheet MCP to understand your spreadsheet and so on and so forth. And using Cirrus Data Cloud's provided information where we have real-time statistics, real-time because of our transparent data intercept, right? So we know everything about the IO, your IO patterns, like is it what's your maximum performance needed? We have all this information provided, digest everything by an agentic AI, by the AI agent. And the AI agent is so good at coding, it can easily spit out well-formatted, based on seriously provided the syntax and our guidance, a migrate ops configuration, just like what the human engineers create today. And this one would just dump into it, and our Cirrus Data Cloud would execute it precisely. Right. So, and this configuration could be 1,000, 10,000 VM as horizontally scalable as possible. Yeah, so this is possible because of, again, because of migrate ops, because of our, yeah, so your agent could be reading a spreadsheet, I have 1,000, hey, migrate all the Windows one first, and you will pick and choose and write code, write migration code, just like how you would know, how human engineers would normally do. So that is basically our vision. So it is our vision to see that in the future, hopefully not too distant future, right? Enterprise internal knowledge would become instantly accessible to all AI agents, right? So we do it internally at Cirrus Data. So our runbooks, our migration best practices, these things are all accessible by AI. So that also bridge the knowledge gap, right? Everybody here contribute to the pool of information and have AI, our agentic AI workflows will be able to process those information and provide human engineers guidance and design of different migration projects. Right, so with all these things, we will always have more designers, more architects, right, and significantly fewer operators. Even though this might not immediately replace how migration is executed, but at the very least, this information or as an execution provider would be able to transition a lot of the tasks of previously mostly just clicking buttons into designing the workflow, setting up rules, setting up boundaries, because obviously AI does require, like it or not, does require more guidelines than human engineers. Yeah, so with our customers integrated environment, once they have the agentic AI tools have access to the cloud, the hypervisor, which you will see in the demo. If everything is all connected and Cirrus Data Cloud is also there with our MCP server, they can ask us for the host, the discovered information, the metrics, and also use Cirrus Data Cloud as an execution platform to carry out the migration scenarios with all the pre and post migration hooks and all those steps. Then we can truly achieve a fully autonomous data mobility, right? Of course, by fully autonomous, we don't mean we see this AI decide everything and just move things around. I mean, that is not realistic at all, right? But it will be the execution portion and the planning, the designing, and the execution portion of data mobility will become fully autonomous. It will be pretty much commissioned by human and within certain boundary, right? And have AI execute it. And with this vision, we are here to help. right? We are here to make this possible by being the best information provider and the easiest execution provider. So this is basically how we can see how that's how things look like, right? So our current product portfolio, right? So we have something for a wide range of data mobility scenarios, whether you're migrating physical, virtual, hypervisors, cloud, or your HPUX server that is only physical, or AIX server, right? Where we will use the physical appliances, and we also have the software only solution called CMC, right, for the Windows and Linux host. And they're all under single pane of glass managed by Cirrus Data Cloud, which we support both running as a service and also as a self-hosted private edition, right? And we have this whole umbrella product we have created. We have been building the easiest to use user interface for our users to interact with us. And then you heard from what my description earlier, we introduced the concept of migrate ops recipe on the top right here, right? And created the first party migrate ops data mobility as code platform to minimize the required integration interface, right? So you basically just one shot do it. I mean, just like what a human would do, right? Either you drag and drop your YAML file, or you through one API to submit the YAML file, right? And now is the time for AI agents to be able to execute that as well, right? So, of course, for AI to use it, the method is different, right? Instead of for AI to learning about your APIs, the fields, and all those things, you would basically have to optimize your MCP tools to speak the natural language, right? So we have put in a lot of effort to make sure that that is a realistic thing that can actually be executed rather than just a pure looking at the diagram. Oh yeah, we have an MCP server that can call an API, right? So how does it actually translate into real life? That I would like to share and introduce an example, right, of how our one example prompt, right, that how AI could be used in what kind of instructions you can provide the AI and let your AI agent, as in an AI engineer, to be able to carry out the task properly. Right, so I prepared here, and if it's too small, I will also make this available at the end of the meeting. And to prompt an AI agent, right, there are many ways to do it. If you are using a more like a chatbot style kind of agentic AI, yes, you might be typing this in, right, or preparing as a file. Or if you are using more of a coding agent, you might be preparing this as a system instructions, like using the agent's MD conventions, right? Or if you're using, like, say, we here in our demo, we use Anthropic's Cloud Code, right? They have their own Cloud.md conventions. Right? But most of the time for enterprise, if you're building your own agentic AI engine behind the scene, right, these kind of interactions would basically be automatic. If you will be built in, I mean, sorry. So in this case, let's take a look. So you are an expert infrastructure migration architect specializing in this is and that, right? So we want to design zero downtime migration strategies from heterogeneous environments. We want to do these things, and we want to leverage we want to create detailed runbooks. Remember, this is not, like I said, this is not a wild one shot, everything is done magic, right? We still need to have runbooks, but we are using AI as an engineer to help us out. How to leverage Cirrus Data Cloud's MigrateOps platform we will be using that as automated orchestration, right? Your responsibility is to autonomously plan, validate, and execute migration using Cirrus Data Cloud. You need to ensure all prerequisites met, blockers identified, and make sure there are stakeholder approvals, right? This is a very typical thing. So I will skip this part. This is just a brief introduction on Cirrus Data and MigrateOps, because we do want to tell the AI some context when honestly, in production, because we run this in our own agentic AI environment. But in new environment, you may also want to provide like access to some of our capabilities, our knowledge base documents and things like that. Right, so we introduce what MigrateOps is, what are the key capabilities. We talk about block level replication with C-Motion, our zero downtime cluster migration technology, different compute platform. So these are all possible. Real-time IO analysis, IQOS. So we have these things, and right, and the pre and post migration automation, right, so that we can do platform remediation modernization. So for example, after upgrading the cloud, you need to also upgrade your SQL Server versions. We can automate all that, right? So by telling your agent you can do these things, right? So we also tell them that, oh, Cirrus Data's MCP will tell you more. So we set the context of, yeah, these are the available. Before I continue, you can see that as you continue to instruct an agent or build an agent, right, to how to actually do that, it does require some effort. But this kind of effort is very similar to how a human architect would instruct human operators to execute. It's kind of the same way, right? So there's no shortcut or magic to, hey, if we have a chatbot that say migrate from VMware to the new hypervisor, please, it's not going to just work, right? So you do have to have very well defined boundaries. But we are here to help. We are here to make sure that that boundary is as clear as possible, the instructions is as non-ambiguous as possible. So here, in our example, we will say, hey, you have these tools that's available to you. Cirrus Data Cloud, right? You can use that to tell our engineer, right? Just like how if you hire a new engineer, you tell them, hey, you have Cirrus Data Cloud that can do these things for you. We will analyze all your storage network, IO data, right? Make sure you will use that later on to make sure you have migration licenses, your integration setup, and then later on you will create migration recipes and then execute the operations. And you also use it to learn how to actually write the correct configuration, as if the human is reading the documentation, right? Unfortunately, with the current state of LLM models, these reminders you still have to constantly repeat and provide guidance. But hopefully, right, as the models and how the whole ecosystem continue to evolve, this has become a lot more reliable and require a lot less human intervention. So we also say, hey, you can use the Excel MCP that we have, the tool, right? That's basically wrapped around some command line based tools to extract Excel files, because later on from our demonstration, you will need to use that to read the Excel mapping and things like that we currently have. And we also have used the Microsoft Docs tool to understand more about PowerShell to make sure it's correct, right? We also AWS Knowledge in our demo because it's migrating to AWS. It used that to get the pricing information and what the product storage options and things like that. Notion. So we'll also tell our agent, hey, you can connect to our company's Notion account and be able to. This is where we use as a issue tracker, and also we also for the purpose of this demo, we've created a budget guideline to say, hey, don't buy the too expensive storage. Just get what is what we can afford, right? And we'll also use Notion as a migration tracker, right? And at the same time, because of engineering, we also have GitLab. So our agent also have access to GitLab. We'll be able to use that as a tracker for issue. So later on in that demo, our agent would go to GitLab, make sure there's no blocking issues before they trigger the migration. So all these things are coming together, right? And we'll then have some migration guideline, which I'm not going to go into all the details, but we'll provide agent precise information, just like how you would tell a human to do, except this is repeatable. So we'll say, hey, if there's blocker, stop and notify user. If you see that in Notion, or make sure you check Notion, check GitLab, no issue before you go. And we'll provide all these things. Make sure then go for review, send it for approval, create GitLab issue. And once the issue is closed, you're approved to proceed. And some reminders. Hey, Cirrus Data Cloud can automatically configure iSCSI and multipath, because our integration actually takes care of all that when you're migrating to iSCSI storage. So you don't need any iSCSI or multipath knowledge precisely to set everything up. So because from our test, the AI agent doesn't know that part. So they will always try to put in like pre-migration steps to configure the iSCSI, make the connections and all those things. But no, our integration already does that according to different vendors' best practices, right? Some more tips like, hey, we have IQOS, so don't use the migration schedule feature, right? So you don't need to do like Monday to Friday, migrate Saturday, migrate even faster. You don't need that. We will dynamically, constantly, continuously adjust the migration performance without impacting the production workload. And then one more thing, they always screw up. So I say, hey, use the date command to get the current time, because somehow the agents is very bad with time. So just like this, and at the end, with these kind of instructions, right? Obviously, without prior knowledge, you need even more. You will end up having an agent where the user can simply type, hey, I want to migrate this server from VMware to AWS, which is in our demo, and prepare it for my review and then execute. right? Or I say, hey, look at my spreadsheet. I want to migrate every server with labeled migration wave one, and I want to migrate it to the OpenShift virtualization. Follow the guidelines and execute it. And then the agent would actually do all these steps, check the Notion, check the GitLab, in our case, like your GitHub, or check your linear ServiceNow, whatever you use to do it, and to actually execute it, add back the tracking to the Notion. And well, in this particular demo, we say that the monitoring, the final approval part is handled by a different agent because we just let it migrate, right? So, so this is basically how it can be done in one go autonomously, right? So we do have a YouTube video, right? And that we actually created. It's exactly what you saw, just what we did just now. But in that particular demo, we actually did it step by step instead of doing it all in one shot. This is basically the picture of that particular set demo, that where we use Cirrus Data Cloud MCP server alongside other components in a complete agentic AI environment and execute the said migration scenario completely, fully autonomously, right? And not just get the job done, not just it migrated, because migrate ops could already do that. You drop a few lines of YAML, it already autonomously do it. But as a complete project, get approval, look for runbooks, look for check off runbooks, check if there's blocking issues. So we do all those things and notify, send email when it's done, and or update a Google Sheet, and it will do all these things. So in that particular demo, and we're a little bit short on time, so I will make sure we leave time for questions. Uh, uh, if we actually went to our VMware server, right, migrate a Windows server as an example, right, with different drives that will migrate to the cloud and some drive to the iSCSI storage. Instead of going in one shot like what I do earlier, that's more like for developers to build and fully autonomous operation. So using a standard coding agent, in this case, it was Anthropic's Claude Code, basically step by step, provided break down my big prompt just now into steps and to show some feedback, right? So we will be able to see how the agent will, hey, do exactly what I instructed. Go to Notion, go to Cirrus Data Cloud, make sure we have the project, make sure we have the integration set up. Go to Notion, make sure that the machine is ready for migration, right? In this case, it would just by the completely through the coding agent, it would be able to do all those things without ever going to your Notion, your GitHub, and never in Cirrus Data Cloud, right? They would be able to get information. Hey, the prompt said, please migrate all the Windows server, right? Yes, the Windows has a typo, but that's the good thing of using AI is that typo just doesn't matter anymore, right? And make sure you use Cirrus Data provided I/O statistics to make decision on what disk to use. And it will do it. It will analyze, in this case, it used the Microsoft MCP tool to look for the product information, pricing information, right? So it's likewise, in our AWS version of the demo, it also does effectively the same thing, and provide recommendations, right? And then it would also, yeah, use Microsoft tool, MCP tools, the Microsoft knowledge tool to research, right? What are the specifications, right? Because it use our tool, our intercept, our TDI technology to understand what kind of performance profile it is, what kind of access pattern, right? To be able to, and then it will correlate that using Microsoft provided information, and or when we migrate AWS, it will be AWS. If we migrate to on-prem storage, it will be whatever the storage that is available, documentations, and using all the available resources to make the best decision. And after that, as you can see here, they will say have the monthly cost, provide us the estimated cost, and the reason they have this requirement is because they detected very high IOPS workload, so compared relatively high. And yeah, and further down the road, our demo video would actually ask the agent to perform the license check, integration check. So they actually do everything. They found all the necessary part, just like how you would be doing it from the UI if you're doing it as a human, right? But the AI would be able to do everything. Even though we are kind of chatting with the AI in this demo, right? If you look at my previous example, you can pre-prepare a prompt and have it do it in one go, right? So after that, it created a plan.md markdown file that actually as a complete migration report that follow our typical migration planning documentation that humans write manually most of the time. Our service engineers will usually do that. right? And it will also incorporate all the pre-migration, post-migration, validation steps, and all those things into the document. So afterwards, you can see all this from our video if you're interested. It has created a complete migration plan document, and that lists out that basically gain approval from the stakeholders, right? So these are very typical. So we are not introducing AI to kind of just get it done magically, move from A to B, because that's not how the real world works, right? So we are here every step of the way to enable AI to be able to participate in the process, either fully autonomously, partly autonomous, right? If I'm going to write this manually and let the AI execute it, fine, that will work too, right? Or if you want to have AI plan it and human execute it, that works as well. So we are building the Cirrus Data Cloud AI integration into something realistic, something that can actually fit into a realistic workflow. And so this also demonstrates how our MCP server will actually provide guidance on how it works. For example, yes, even though earlier in my demo I did type in don't worry about iSCSI, right? Actually, our MCP server would instruct the would also tell our agent that you don't need to do anything with iSCSI or MPIO and that kind of automation because our integration will take care of it. So after all these things, just like what a human would do, I want to add a post migration step to stop the antivirus because I don't need that in the cloud, and it did it. Uh, and after all this execution, they found a blocking issue from the Notion, and then we have to check it off, and it will execute. And at the end, they would create the migration operation. And at this point, it will be using MigrateOps just like how a human engineer would be doing, right? But after the MigrateOps is created and the MigrateOps engine is doing the work, the AI agent also added an entry in the VM migration tracker. So that's for human project manager to verify. So, and at the end, this Azure migration, the VM migrated and completed just like the typical migration with all the migration reports, everything generated, single pane of glass viewable in Cirrus Data Cloud, and it was done. And even on top of that, we instructed our agent to create a menu, a customized format of a report in a customized format that is based on our own internal use. And it will also make use of all the Cirrus Data Cloud provided tools like to gather all the information. So that, and then the migration is successful. It's now running from VMware to the cloud completely without any button clicking, right? So it's all purely based on available information as a system for it to work. But the key is we are not talking about the MCP server. I mean, the MCP server is a very simple technology. Anybody can create it. Most people can create it. But really, the secret sauce is our automation first philosophy, right? That we have been putting in over the years. We make it easy for with human engineers creating automation as a first party supported operation. And that is why when it comes to AI engineer, it becomes a lot easier. So with all these things put together, we have become a platform that AI engineers or human engineers can easily and safely use automation. And yes, this is a very common question. Is Cirrus Data, does it work with any agentic AI tools? Most tools out there support MCP integrations, and including most tools that our users build, like homegrown tools. And yes, so the reason why we are not very supporting just a very limited set of, or even providing our own interface, our chat interface and all those things is because very, very unlikely migration can influence what AI agents you're going to use, right? So choosing an AI agent is a lot more in enterprise environment, especially it's a lot more than just migration. And that's why we are trying to be the best partner of AI and fit into the ecosystem as much as possible. And that is basically our vision on how all these things can play out in a completely fully autonomous manner.
Cirrus Data. Industry proven for over 15 years. Enterprise trusted and data mobility perfected. And now, ready to work with AI. Integrate MigrateOps with any of your chosen AI agents. Let your AI agent transform migration intent into automated execution. Stop wrestling with manual risks and complexity. Intent-based configuration, API-first architecture. MigrateOps Data Mobility as Code automation platform. Designed for AI agents from day one. Experience it today.
Okay, so now this is our AI vision. So maybe Jocelyn, we can answer some questions now.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions actually in both the Q&A and the chat. I'm gonna jump to one of the ones in the chat first, and then we'll come back to the Q&A. So it says, underline the tools question. Does it require SaaS migration platform or software option, or does your Agentic AI tie into the Fabric inserted appliance? It's the last one in the webinar chat there, if you're looking at it, Sammy.
Yeah, sure. So our as I introduced earlier on our current software product umbrella, right? So Cirrus Data Cloud is a management interface to manage multiple either appliances for the fiber channel iSCSI migration or the host-based product. So it is the Cirrus Data Cloud sit on top of both products, and the MCP server is connecting to the Cirrus Data Cloud. But the Cirrus Data Cloud does provide a private edition, or the SaaS version. You can use the as a cloud service or as a self-hosted private edition that you can run as a simple VM, right? So you would use that. If you use it manually, it will be a single pane of glass viewing all the migrations, and that is where AI can interact with the appliance and the host-based solution as well.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. I'm gonna jump to it. Ooh, I'm gonna jump to this one for you, sir. Is this only for block storage?
Yeah, so right now, well, I've come like I introduced earlier, we started off doing storage migration as a company, right? And we have extended the block storage capabilities into migrating any kind of compute workload, VM workloads, right? And so that's mostly what we do today, right? But we are going to have our file and object data set migration capabilities coming up very soon, right? Stay tuned on that. And once that is out, the good thing is because of the Cirrus Data Cloud platform, it automatically applies to the APIs, the MigrateOps, and also in this case, the AI agent as well.
Okay, guys, you heard it here first, but keep it under wraps for me. Thanks, Sammy. Okay, so this next one, I'm going to come back up to the top. So it says, when I use AI to write code or Ansible playbook, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Yes, it's true. It makes lots of mistakes. It is at best helping me with syntax, etc. Are you confident that this will work?
Yeah, this is a great question, right? So, um, yeah, just like what this question says, like when you're writing Ansible playbook and all these things, the AI does make a lot of mistake, even though it has a lot of training data because we're just way too open-ended, right? So if you look at how I structured my prompt and structured my instruction to AI, we are trying to limit the scope as little as possible, right? To keep it in mind. And that is why our purpose-built MCP server helps. So even if you use the Context 7 and all those MCP server that will provide you up-to-date live documentation, it is still not enough because it's still just documentation for usually right for human, right? So our MCP server provided data, provided instructions are really meant for AI to fit into be context efficient, right? To stay within your context window as much as possible. So a lot of that is not really because of AI, because of MCP, but also because of MigrateOps, where you basically, even as a human, you only have one step to go, right? So So before all this, we have been using Ansible to help our customers a lot, right? And we run into a lot of those issues. Yes, we do use AI to help write some code, right? Write some Ansible playbook, those YAML files. But yes, there's a lot of mistakes because it's just way too wide open. So hopefully with our initiative here, making it as AI native as possible, right? We will be able to close that down. And at the same time, as the ecosystem can continue to evolve, have newer models, this will definitely improve.
So I'm going to take a couple more. I know we are past time, so if you guys have to drop, I completely understand. I appreciate everybody's time here, but I'm going to take some more of these. So I appreciate your interest. This one, Sammy, is a little pointed. I love it, but they were anonymous. So feel free to ask these tough questions, you guys. We love it. It says, "Isn't this basically like Chat GPT for migration?"
Yeah, this is the common one that where like what is this is actually comes back to what is agentic AI, right? So while yes, you in like my demo video, we'll be like chatting with the agent to do things, right? But in order for things to be really work in productivity in production, just like a human operated project, you still have to go through the design phase and the architect phase. There's no going around that, at least at this moment. So yeah, using AI agent as a virtual engineer is not like using ChatGPT because using ChatGPT, you are more like talking to the LLM, like a demo of the LLM, right? But the agentic AI is really going back and forth. Like you might prompt one thing and they go back and forth like 20 times with your LLM behind the scene to figure out what is right next action to use. Hey, I need more information. Then okay, I will go Cirrus Data to get some information. I need this, and then I will go to online documentation to look something up. So I would say the short answer to this is no. This is not like just ChatGPT for migration. The interface might sound like that, but but at the end, we are trying to promote using a fully autonomous agent-based that solution that can actually interact with a lot of different components rather than just in chatting with the ChatGPT, like that kind of simple interact, like one shot, give me something, like that kind of thing.
It's a good one. Okay, here's another tough one for you. Does this mean your solution always requires internet access to talk to your cloud? And they wanted to make sure this was anonymous.
Okay, so no, obviously we have obviously in our end as our focus in enterprise, we have our exposure to all this enterprise environment. This cannot be a requirement, obviously. So yeah, we do have our private edition that has full feature parity to our SaaS solution, right? Including a very generous scalability because of our how we design for scalability, right? So yes, including the MCP server, it will work in the MCP in the private edition as well, where you can self-host on a VM, right, on your hypervisor or even in the cloud. Believe it or not, even in the cloud, a lot of our users choose to deploy the private edition to I suppose that would be easier to work around to comply with security and all these things. So yeah, so the answer is yes, it will work. It will work without internet, right? So you might have your own internal AI agent that can talk to MCP server that can do all these things, but no, you don't have to connect to our cloud service at all.
And here's another one from the chat. Does this come with the migration software or is it an add-on?
And yes, this comes with the product because remember, this is not really our agent trying to run things, right? This is still, we are providing an integration with any kind of agentic AI. So it will be basically it's just like similar to how we provide a REST API for a developer instead of the UI. This will be our AI native API for AI agents, for virtual engineers to use us. So this will be all built in, including
Great.
private edition. Yeah.
And then I think we'll do this last one and then so can you set stop points throughout the migration so an actual human can check the AI's code, or does it execute automatically? Is there an option to do both? That's a really good question.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I don't think anybody trusts the AI to just go wild and just execute everything in one go. So yeah, so in our actual AI demo, the prompt I showed earlier, it does do the same thing. So it will create a detailed plan, open in our case, open a Git issue in our GitLab project, and wait for somebody to approve it before it will actually go trigger it. So once you get to the execution phase of it, right, even though the planning is approved, in Migrate Op itself, whether you use AI or not, we do have various approval point where you will actually you can set automatic, manual, or even scheduled approval to before we proceed. So even if you're using Migrate Ops manually by using our recipe, if our recipe already has built-in approval points where we will need like before we shut down anything, for example, we will make sure that the human approve it. Right? Or you can use API or set automatic, hey, I will approve any migration that happened on the weekend. You can do that. So that's how the current design is.
Yeah, that's great. I guess so there is one more that just came in. I'll take it. I do want to point out just very quickly for those of you watching the Q&A, Alan Chen put in some detail in here about our solution. For those of you who haven't had the pleasure of talking with Alan, he is our head of customer success, wonderful gentleman, and he is absolutely right there. He gave some details as well. So one more question for Sammy. How does this process handle in an environment related to issues or mistakes where it causes the operation to constantly fail? How does this process handle an environment related to issues?
So to path handling, so this is actually I would say beyond AI, right? So this is really how Migrate Ops handle it, right? So Migrate Ops is designed to be as retriable as possible, and we continue to improve that to have as many retriable points as possible. Right, but from the AI integration perspective, if you can see from maybe you can go back to the video that my grand prompt there was that if you run into issue, stop and open a GitLab ticket to get an engineer involved. So that's how we did it. And because MigrateOps has the MCP server also provide all these status details, including the reasoning of the error, right? So even at a very large scale, we can your AI agent would be able to say, okay, for every first before you do anything, check anything that has gone into error or have anything, and you might have to get either you can also put in AI troubleshooting guide, for example, right? Or you can, like in our case, just to say, okay, open a case for a human, that would work as well. So yeah, there are a lot of possibilities when it comes to AI as long as it has the information.
Oh, thanks, Jason. Jason gave us a nice little shout out here on the Q&A. We really appreciate that. Um, really appreciate that. So thank you everybody for joining us today. I know I went long. I don't have the opportunity to bring Sammy on very often, but really appreciate Sammy taking the time out and Alan joining us on the Q&A too. That was a nice little treat. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Please send us your feedback. If you have other questions, please let me know. Oh, Tim, thank you very much. We have another little shout out from Tim. We really appreciate that as well. You guys, really, thank you very much. If you have questions, again, let us know. We're always here and we would love to hear from you. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye.
one.